Why be easy when you can just die? Woo! Wow, I'm Chewy Mew. Welcome to my channel. More specifically, welcome to another Chewy Mew video where today I'm going to be taking a look at a custom that I made quite a while ago. And this is also part of my sort of reviewing every single figure left in my collection reviewing session, I guess, where, as the name implies, I'm trying to review every single figure left in my collection in hopes that I can finish it. I'll do a collection tour video, and that collection is probably not going to change for a while unless I get like a big, extra, huge amount of figures. But the custom today I made a while ago, and that is my custom Marvel Legends, spoilers, just Marvel Legends, Silvermaine. I almost said Silver Sable again. I did like a practice intro and stuff where I talk more quiet like this to preserve my voice so I'm not like, you know, doing the whole crazy thing. And I called him Silver Sable like twice. But no, this is Silvermaine. And so this arm is kind of loose when it's like that, but that's fine. So this figure is using the typical kit bash that everyone uses to make Silvermaine, and that's like sort of ish. They usually use like the Ultron body from some wave, I don't remember which one. They used one of the Hasbro Ultron figures, then they used the head that came with the Speed Demon figure, and he's like, his head's on a go-kart. And then Hasbro decided, hey, we're gonna make our own kit bash and slightly change some stuff. Which didn't change a lot of stuff, and then people were like, oh man, that sucks, and people bought it anyway, so that's unfortunate. But this custom is not based off of his sort of classic design. It's based off of a sort of more, like a more, I guess, more modern-ish design. It's sort of a fusion. I wanted to do his first version suit, or like his first version where he has like all the crazy wires and stuff. But that would take a ton of sculpting and a lot of paint stuff. And honestly, that's too much work that I wanted to put into a character I don't care too much about. You might be thinking, well, dude, why did you even make a custom at all if you don't care about the character? And the reason is, you know, I don't care about the character, but it's one of the things that if I have the resources that I have to potentially make this custom, I'm going to do it, because what else am I going to use this body for? And speaking of bodies, this body is the Hasbro, spoilers, the Ultimate Green Goblin Build-A-Figure Wave Ultimate Beetle figure. And I already used his head for this custom sort of classic comic book, Ultimate Beetle's comic book, but this more classic-looking 616 style Beetle. And I used the head here, I modified it and stuff like that. It's using a Bucky cap with custom wings and stuff like that. And so this one, I didn't have the head for it because I used that. And then I also used the wings for something, I don't know what I used the wings for. So I just decided I'm just going to customize the rest of this and also use his upper hips for something. So now he has some other legs that don't do he can't rotate here, but he can now, he can do the splits now. He just doesn't have a thigh rotation, which it's not really a big deal. For this character, the head is using, pardon my voice crack, the head is using the Toy Biz Marvel Legends Urban Legends box set Punisher. And one of the images I found was him in this sort of robotic suit where it's his head in a floating jar and he has like this big metallic hand. And so I decided just to make that version, and I think ultimately it looks fine. I was going to try to like super glue wires onto these and paint them, but I just painted the detail. I didn't do any, like, there's not three-dimensional detail to it, but it looks fine. It looks kind of more like he just has, like, red and yellow going throughout him, which I think it looks fine. And this arm is actually made out of Lego pieces, believe it or not. Believe it. And this one has, it has, like, this green color as well to him. The only thing that is also not from the original figure, obviously, other than the hand, the shoulder pads are made out of dried paint. The head, like I said, as well, this is a Lego piece as well, for this like sort of cord that plugs into his back. Conveniently, here he had a hole in his back for his wings, so that works pretty good. And then these feet also came from the Spider-Man vs. Kraven the Hunter box set. And so, because I used his feet for my custom lasher, because that one is like kind of the toes and stuff. And so I gave him this one, and then I just super glued pieces of dried clay on top. The feet don't look the best from the side, but you're probably never going to be seeing him from the side like this anyway, so it's kind of fine. I'm not trying to impress the world with this custom. That's for like my Demo Goblin and Hobgoblin. Those kind of customs are really good. This one's kind of more like, it's fine. I was trying to make a more blocky look to his chest, but it didn't work, so I just made like a blocky kind of pelvis design to it. This is actually using the upper hips from the Toy Biz The Amazing Spider-Man Ultimate Hydro Man. I don't know, I'm yawning. I do know I'm yawning. I'm tired, but you know. So yeah, and then this Lego arm here is just, we can actually, I think we can take this off. Yeah, so this is using part of a Lego bow staff connected to a stud that has a hole, which that's probably one of the coolest things Lego's ever done, in my opinion, is making these studs with holes. So I plugged this in here, super glued those together, and this is using a sort of like, I guess, a wheel piece. That one comes off, but that's okay. like a wheel-looking piece. The first time I remember encountering this was these these shurikens from Lego Ninjago that had like spikes on them, and they throw them at the bad guys or whatever. I don't remember what they're called. I did have a bunch of those, and one of these was like fodder because I had extra, so I used it for this part, and that's cool. You can rotate it. That's not like a gimmick. That's just me rotating it with my hand. And then these parts are like like hook things. I don't know the name of Lego parts. And then I connected, I think I super glued it. I connected it looks like a stud kind of, but it has one hole on the bottom to plug stuff in. Then it has like a peg to plug in. So I plugged the peg in here, then I connected this brick part over top, and then I painted everything sort of metallic green with some yellow and silver in there. And then I actually had to drill the hole a bit to make this fit, because the original hands, you can't remove these hands, so I think I just broke the hand off, honestly, because I'm not going to use it for anything. And so then after doing that, I just plugged this in. I drilled a hole first and I plugged it in. I didn't super glue it, so at least I can have some rotation here. You can move these kind of on their own a little bit. The stupid thing is with some of these Lego pieces like these ones, they do break after a while, which is kind of dumb. I feel like my camera is lagging. I feel like after a while my camera starts lagging. That's weird. As long as like the audio and the video are still kind of synced up, that's fine. And then for the shoulder pads, like I said, I used dried paint, and they only move up this high, but it's not the shoulder pads. It's that these arms suck, so they can't move up high anyway. And I didn't paint that part because the paint rubs anyway, and the shoulder pads cover it. So yeah, it doesn't. The arms don't move up much anyway, so it's not like I'm missing any articulation by the way I put the shoulder pads on. They do rub off a little, or they do rub against this a little bit. And this is made out of dried paint. I did paint the shoulder green in there. Made out of dried paint, or I just it's like when you let paint dry on a paint tray and then you peel it off and then you can use it for stuff like this. Same thing here on the belt, and then to make these legs as well. I didn't use any clay on this just because dried paint is a little bit simpler to do, and it's kind of more like a quick thing. It's not so much used for, like, obviously you can't sculpt it like clay, but if you just need to add shoulder pads like this, it works good because it's kind of rubbery and bendable, and it's not not rubbery, but it's a much more squishy kind of plasticky feel to it, so it's not going to mess up it's not going to get messed up. But if you sculpt these shoulder pads, they're probably going to crack or something just because the way it works. And then the head definitely took the most work here. This plastic piece is actually from like a wrapper from something. Oops, I just cracked it. That's nice. I just used like a wrapper of something, and then I super glued, I took apart his neck and stuff, and I super glued Silvermaine's head onto where the neck would be, and I added some some dried paint here and there to sort of make the head look like it's higher up, because it's supposed to look like he's a disembodied head floating in a jar. That's how it's supposed to be, and then he's somehow controlling this body. Because Silvermaine he's kind of like a cyborg. He's an old man that's supposed to be dead, where he manages to keep himself alive by making robotic bodies and stuff, having people make them for him, so he's able to preserve his mind. It's one of those classic sci-fi things, like his body is basically completely destroyed, and his mind is still working, so they managed to preserve it using the power of science fiction. Basically like that. So I took this thing, I super glued it together into a cylinder shape, and then I painted it. Something like about the glue and the humidity of being inside of this dome, it makes it look, it's not supposed to look like this foggy in it, but it looks foggy. I mean, it kind of works, but I prefer it just to be regular, clear, transparent like this box right here. Unfortunately, that's not the case here. Come on, focus. It's focusing. The head looks blurry. That's just how the jar looks, but I think it looks cool. Like, you can see at this angle, you can kind of see like reflections of his face. And then I super glued another piece of dried paint over top of this, and then this Lego cord here, which you can unplug it from here. That's not too useful, but I mean, that's how it works. I didn't super glue it in here just in case it didn't work, so I left it like that, but that's cool. Or I could do like some display thing where like Spider-Man's ripping it out of his body, and then you see it like, he's like, oh man, I'm dying because he pulled a cord out. That's very obviously there. But that's how he looks. He has a cord. It's not that prominent. It's much shorter. It's kind of more like that kind of length. But having this overly dramatic long one, I think it looks cool as well. And I can also hang them from something. Yeah, like a thumbtack or whatever, which is not going to be too useful. But I could do it if I wanted to. But yeah, that's pretty much all for this custom. There's not like, whenever I do a custom, I'm always about to say, there's not a ton of stuff that went into this. But actually, yes, there was a lot of stuff that went into this. Most of the work was spent doing the head. The head alone probably took me about an hour to figure out. And this is probably like the fifth or sixth version of the dome thing, because I kept cutting plastic. When I super glue the back part together, which also this cord kind of hides it, You can kind of see it right here a little bit. But with the way this cord looks and just how foggy it is, it kind of blends in. And then having to super glue this top piece also is kind of dumb. I originally tried using a bottle cap and putting like a water bottle lid on it. But where's my water? I thought I had a water bottle here. I do. But unfortunately, you can see it doesn't line up right. I mean, it is kind of the same size, but there's no way to attach it. And also, Punisher's head, it's not too big, but it's slightly too big for the water bottle lid. So it didn't work. And I tried a bunch of stuff that didn't work. And then also, I did manage to get it to work, but it was super cramped in here. That the chin itself was rubbing on the well, not glass, but on the plastic part here. And then the lid, it just looked like he had a lid, like a water bottle lid. It didn't look like, if you look at this, I mean, this is obviously Legos. If you know Legos, you can tell. But just like you can tell the red parts, you can tell that it's painted. Like, but it looked like he had a water bottle lid on his head. It looked kind of weird. It didn't blend in good, you know. So it looked kind of weird. But doing it like this, I think it worked a lot. It worked. It didn't work the best. In the ideal world, it would be clear, transparent. But as far as that goes, I think it looks good here. This arm is a bit... Is it loose because of the Lego piece, or is it just loose? Because it looks like it's loose from the bicep. I don't know why it'd be loose from the bicep if I didn't... I didn't think I cracked the figure open. And if I did, I cracked it open, I think. But I didn't modify anything of the shoulders to make them loose. I don't know why. We can say he has butterfly joints. That's a feature now. They're not butterfly joints. I didn't cut any plastic to make these arms work better just because the shoulder pads are going to block it, so I didn't really care too much. And I'm not skilled enough to make shoulder pads that I could put sticking inside of the arm here, so when they move up, they kind of shift with the shoulder pad. There's no way I could do that. I probably could do it. Or if these like have a pin going through the arm that these could hinge up and down, but then I'd have to make these out of hard, solid clay so they would move, but then they'd be more likely to clack. It's a whole mess. The way I did them ends up working perfectly fine. And, you know, everything, well, dude, you could have used the alternate hand. You said you broke the other alternate hand, but you could have used it to swap them. I mean, I could have, but in the comic book, this isn't like some interchangeable weapon he has. It's just that is his arm for this robot. It's a bit more hand-looking. It looks a bit more like an actual hand. It's kind of more like he's got like only like three or four fingers on it. But this kind of works good as well. It's kind of like a pincher. You can actually grab somebody with it. Can you grab Manga Spider-Man? I don't know if you can, because Manga Spider-Man's head is really dense, and these pieces kind of fall off. You can have him hold it, but you would need to have something supporting his arm so he could actually hold it successfully. Like put this guy on a flight stand so it would hold it. I don't know why I'm telling you guys as if that's what you could do, because you don't have this figure, but you know, that's cool. I think it looks pretty cool. I don't think it's one of my best customs. It's a bit more on the creative side as far as like the hand and then the head. But, you know, that's overall how it looks. Let's go over articulation, though. You know, if I was a super crazy custom genius, I would have been able to make this head so that I could rotate it, but that's a bit extreme. But the arms go up this high, which is unfortunate. They rotate all the way around. He has a bicep swivel. Double jointed elbow, which is pretty tight on that side. But yeah, double jointed elbow. This hand has a hinge and rotation at the wrist. The paint does rub off, but it's not too noticeable on this guy, so that's fine. And then this Lego hand also has a rotation. And then you can move each claw. You can't move them up because then they come off. Because these figures, these plastic pieces are terrible because they break so easily. I've had so many of these pieces break, and like the little clips that hook to these bars, they break so easily, which that sucks. I might end up just super gluing the ones that fall off. But yeah, they can rotate like that. His ab crunch goes forward fine. It goes back a pretty decent amount if you really force it. I didn't paint up in here because you're not supposed to move it that high. It's supposed to only move up about that high. The waist swivel, you know, is a waist swivel. The legs kick up all the way. The original body on this one could not kick up that high. The original one could kick up a little bit less. He can do the splits like I showed. He can kick back whenever that's going to be useful. He has a single bend in the knee, I guess, because I guess I super glued the top knee to the knee pad. This is how the knee's supposed to work, but I guess this one is only a single joint now. That's unfortunate. The ankle goes all the way up. Not really. It goes back a decent amount, and then you have an ankle pivot here. And the bottom of the feet it says Hasbro SA, and then I don't see the year on it. 2013. Come on, focus. 2013. But I like how when I make it focus, I move it away from the camera like right away, or like right after, barely after it focuses. But yeah, so this custom is kind of lackluster. The most effort was put definitely into the head, and probably doing the legs, because this is also a different pelvis from his original one. But either way, that's over this custom. Let me know what you think about this figure or this custom, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Wow.